you guys. Yeah, hi Grace. Do I know you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were gonna be here.
Mike's son.
Hey, nice to see you. This is so great. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. I've been really looking forward to it.
Dave Foreman.
Dave, hey, how are you? Oh my gosh, we get all these great players in Michigan. You know, the defense space, the aerospace, auto.
Here we are.
How's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you for coming. by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here.
You need to mic her up?
Yes.
She's mic'd up already, huh?
Yeah, I've got one mic on, but I'll do more. Yeah, mic me.
More the merrier.
You know, I won't do anything bad. I
Okay,
promise.
okay, good.
Just want to take this
Yeah.
pack and put it in your pocket,
Okay.
wherever's comfortable for you.
Yeah, sounds good.
And put this. And if you just want to tuck in that wire as much as you can.
She's like, that's good.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
How are you doing, Congresswoman?
You know, it's been a
It's pretty
nice,
tough.
like, robust season at home. You
Yeah.
know, really digging in this August. It's interesting to see the temperatures cooling.
Yay.
I'm with all of you. I'm heading out to the west side of the state. And then I've got this, I call it family reunion, but it's a big reunion of a group of us who all, went to camp together so we're doing that. And we've got now people coming from all over the country,
Wow.
so it's a 7-0, 7-3.
Right.
Yeah. But beyond, so it's like my team was one. Well, you get these 2 days,
Yeah, 2 days.
And then I read this morning, Gary Peters is kicking off his motorcycle tour. I thought, I like that. But I'll tell you, this whole week has been full of some really tremendous time with actors back home. Yesterday I saw Mish Auto. Day before that I was with our Aerospace Association and a lot of the critical players. You're obviously in such a great destination here in Auburn Hills. You're not the only defense manufacturer here. I've really drilled down over the years here in Auburn Hills in particular, just because of the rich concentration of suppliers and manufacturers across a multitude of industries. And the whole goal of this is just to gain the knowledge, to keep my finger on the pulse of the economic drivers of this state. Usually when we're not in this work period, where we're home for a couple of weeks, usually I'm bouncing back and forth. So I do this, I touch in, and then I go back to the Capitol. I've done that for 7.5, 8 years. And the way in which that has helped the policy making in a strategic way through multiple presidential administrations now, multiple House speakers, and we have to remember how special and unique our state is as being one of 5 states about whose GDP is exclusively driven by prominently driven by the manufacturing sector. It used to be in the 60s like every state's GDP was. Well, and so these assets here, these are national assets, national security obviously, but also economic security. And we know we're in a lot of competition. We need to make this work better.
Yep.
Right? We don't even have to touch on how I think some of the bureaucracy that you might have to deal with procurements and grants and things like that, if that's grants or the FAR, your defense. So who's dealing with the FAR here? We're using the lingo. The Congresswoman knows the lingo, but. We got co-equal branches of government. I'm so proud to be in one of them on behalf of Michigan, and the daily work of driving on our economy for our manufacturers, our workers, has just proven to be an elixir for success. So that's, what I hope to accomplish here today is, learning what you all need, taking some notes. We've obviously got Cody Schaub here from my team, who's really good at what he does, has a great rapport back with he's the economic development director for my office here in Michigan. But then we've got the office in DC, which you've spent time with. So, yeah.
Excellent. So I am Sue Munro. I'm the CEO of Munro Defense.
Yeah.
Dave here is the VP of Munro Defense, and you know Mr. Stone already?
We met before.
Oh, you met before?
Yeah, I'm an attorney at Warner North Crescent,
Yes.
but I chair
Yeah.
our aerospace defense team, retired
Right.
senior Army
Yeah, I've been with some Warner.
Yeah, so
They're
when you were at AI the other day, like,
Yeah.
half those are
Yeah,
clients.
yeah, exactly. No.
Yeah, Kelly Electronics is,
Mhm.
I saw Meredith and we took her to the Tigers game with Rob.
Oh, great.
The night after she met you, so
Oh,
that was a
good.
great night to
Yeah.
catch up on what they're working on.
Good. No, that is remarkable. And it was just happenstance that I was looking up some of our apprenticeship programs in our state in a particular field, and then Meredith comes up. I mean, we weren't even really focusing on apprenticeships to start, and then of course we get into it, but it's amazing how much they're touching.
It's
amazing.
shocking at a UP company. She's on the CHIPS Council Advisory Board, the committee for workforce development at the national level.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that a PhD from the UP's got
Yeah.
on this, and she's in DC all the time.
That's the beauty of this country, though. You know, it's like I fly out from our zip codes, and then people fly out from all their zip codes, and it's like, oh, you know, it's everybody. And then the workforce component. I mean, that's like some of the work that we did in CHIPS and science with the legislation. So I was like, oh, I'm glad to see that, you know, manifesting in that way. So.
Yeah.
And nice to see
For
you.
sure, likewise, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, our relationship bridges my time in industry into advocacy,
Mhm.
so, and working closely with the state on our
Yeah.
strategy here through ODI and all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
We'll keep that going, please.
yes,
You
ma'am,
know.
no problem. I'm proud to support this team. This is, you said this is a gem of manufacturing and innovation here. So, excited to hear your presentation.
And thank you for taking your time. It's a
Yeah.
two-hour visit, so that's a grand amount of time, I would think, for a congresswoman. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it so much. We want to give you a little brief presentation about Munro Defense. You're sitting in the commercial building. We'll be heading over to the defense building later, but we want to give you just a brief background on Munro Defense and some of our core capability and some of the key programs we've been working on in the defense industry, which I think you're going to find fascinating. We are doing really good work. And then we'll talk about some of the technologies that I know are key to Michigan and key to the industry. And we'll go out to the display area and talk a little bit about technology. And then we'll go ahead and have a little discussion about manufacturing in Michigan and what makes Michigan great.
I love that.
All right, so we're good.
I always tell everyone, part of it too is I get to go and brag about who we are in Michigan to all my colleagues. So,
Excellent,
you know, thank you for helping me do that.
excellent. Okay, Dave.
We are not a manufacturing company. We're a professional engineering and consulting company. But a lot of the initiatives that you currently have going on, we see throughout the entire country. We understand the importance. And a lot of the companies that are coming to us are trying to understand how do we compete, against the Chinese. How do we find rare earth elements and other things to support our supply chain? How do we ramp up production? And all of those sort of things that you talk about are things that we help our clients with. And what is great about Michigan, and what we'll show, is that we actually bring in a lot of out-of-state work into Michigan through our organization, because we push Michigan as the state that has a lot of capabilities that offer people through the different government infrastructures like the MEDC, the Lawrence Tech Centropolis, and with the universities, the engineering facilities, manufacturing, R&D, prototyping. There's so much in this state. And then when you look at automotive engineering and best practices, they're world-class. It's a very tight market with very small margins. They spend a lot of time and effort and money to make sure they're world-class. So bringing that type of knowledge to other manufacturers is kind of what we do here. So the Munro Defense, we're incredibly proud to support the warfighter. At the end of the day, that is what we're here for, is to ensure that the products and the services that we provide ensures that the warfighter comes home safely to his family, that we protect this nation and our allies. So we're all in it for the same purpose. And we're proud to do that. We're not really that well known within defense within Michigan. I'm happy to have you here because we are doing some amazing work on some very, very large programs. One such program is the Next Gen Squad Weapon Ammunition Program, which I will talk about a little bit later, but it's an initiative to really help modernize the way that we make manufacturing, taking it from World War II to state-of-the-art. We work with mobile nuclear reactors, aircraft, ships, and a lot of the prime suppliers. So what are some of the things that we do? Number one is the what, why, and how. That's so important because a lot of what we want to understand is where's the future. You know, where are we at today and where do we need to go? So a lot of our benchmarking, a lot of R&D and other things to understand automotive. You know, what is the rest of the world doing? What do we need to do and how do we stay ahead of everybody else? And I know that's a very important topic for it. The next thing is optimization and producibility. If we want to be competitive, we need to really focus on how do we eliminate as much of the complexity around design as possible so that we can manufacture, assemble here at better wages, but you reduce a lot of the supply chain and other things that are very costly when you're outsourcing. So it's really helping companies in-source and what do they really need to do to be competitive in that. Then the next thing is assembly investment, helping the organizations all the way from it's an idea to we're starting to move into production, the assembly investment. So we have our own integrated tools that we have designed here to help model the total accounted cost of designs. So when you're looking at building a business case, it's really looking at the design, the operations, the materials, the supply chain, everything, so you can understand the total complete cost structure so that you can make better decisions, because it's not always just a labor trade-off, right? You know, it's more technology, it's about the complexity of the supply chain, all those things have to be thought about. And so on the bottom left of the design and manufacturing analysis of alternatives is really just providing real data, real metrics, so we can make decisions. You know, what is my investment, what's my ROI, and so that we can move forward faster. And then driving that into facility requirements and costs. So if I'm going to build a factory here in Michigan, then what's the size, what's the infrastructure that's really needed in order to support that manufacturing? So what we do is we tie all of our knowledge from the design, the process, equipment, into the facility, so it's a full picture to help people really optimize their total business strategy. And so on the right-hand side is where we're also helping on that manufacturing system strategy. How should you do things? What size plant? How do you want to scale up? Based on how you scale, what type of equipment do you need? You know, what is the best equipment, and how do you get your workforce trained and skilled up for that, right? So, and then helping just manage the programs, drive risk out. So in a big picture, we as an organization, that's what we do. We have found ourselves in alignment very tightly with the government, working directly with the Army, working with the Navy, working with different labs to become their advocates, because sometimes they don't have all of the technical engineering resources that they need in order to understand everything. Great people, no doubt about it, but we just help them understand the risk and have the data to make the decision. And again, it's really focusing on that entire life cycle, all the way from the early MRL, TRL process to full rate production. On the bottom left-hand side of the screen, that's a very famous shadow diagram that was created by Sandy Munro, and when he was still at Ford Motor Company. And it's understanding where we have the most ability to influence the profitability of product. And we spend a lot of time focused on our materials, our supply chain, and everything else, when the design influences most. A good example would be something like a pedal, right? You think it's not that complex, you got some springs and stuff, but nobody really wants to kind of build this, so we'll ship it off somewhere else and we'll deal with it, right? And so if you spend a little bit more time up front, then you can get the same design in a single piece injection. Now build me a business case that says I can build this cheaper somewhere else. You can't. right? So if you look at that and apply this methodology across cars, ships, toasters, you name it, now we can start to really take our knowledge and our skill to make ourselves a lot more competitive and not make it a labor decision. So
That's a great example.
Yeah, that really is, that's amazing. Would you even like, do you guys do like Factory of the Future stuff? You know, are you working in that space?
we are, and I can talk to you a little bit
I'm
about
sure
that.
software is so critical to what you're doing, obviously, but it's amazing, so you've got the credentials, these manufacturers can call you, when I say credential, like the DOD approvals, because you don't think about this, and I mean, a lot of folks don't, they just think, oh, you know, these big box, you know, factories that we drive by, they're, you know, they're like flat buildings, they're not, you know, they're beautiful, but you don't know what's going on in them, and it's that utilization of the space actually too. And you know, we see a lot of manufacturers outgrowing, but then they're capital constrained, and the equipment, and this is where folks really need to understand. I mean, this is multi-million-dollar equipment that in and of itself is an asset, it's a profitability asset, but my gosh, to get that all built around here, I mean, you do the, you know, asset mapping, which sometimes my office just kind of naturally does because of all the time that we spend with manufacturers. It's really quite remarkable. And of course, it's technology, that's what we're talking about, TRL, right? It's the technology maturation and the development, especially as we are innovating. And some of this, just so you understand from the Washington perspective, because I assume this is, you know, hitting the clients that you work with, the manufacturers that you know, serve, and as someone in the integrated space yourself, but you know, we really, really, really feel it that we need to do a better job harnessing new technologies and innovations in partnership with the Department of Defense. And any ways in which you can help me as a lawmaker who, again, you know, I sit at that table on the strategic competition committee between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party. And this is an all of government attention. And, you know, obviously we've got a built Department of Defense, you know, the legacy, you know, the dirty word bureaucracy, but man, it's so critical to, you know, who you're serving, how we're growing, elements of our economy, but the fact that we've got to have these technologies here, you know, and that's a rich history for us here in Michigan, but please, no, we're open, you know, to hear on, in terms of, I was a DOD grant awardee before I was in Congress with the Manufacturing USA, previously the National Network of Manufacturing Innovation that was administered through the Department of Defense. We had $80 million from DOD. Not direct, you know, it was public-private partnerships. So it was $80 million from DOD, matched by, you know, capital commitments and contributions from the private sector. LIFT, L-I-F-T, yeah, L-I-F-T. Yeah, I figured you probably are up with them. Yeah, and so it was the sister institute of LIFT for digital manufacturing. So we set up, you know, a factory of the future, you know, and did all this demonstration, did some of the workforce development, but one of my, you know, ahas during my time as a manufacturing executive was like, hey, this is cumbersome for us here. You know, in terms of, you know, breaking down some of the barriers of DoD, and of course we need to have security channels, you know, that's why we have guardrails up, but sometimes it's efficiency as well. So my job is, you know, also in part, like, if there's some nudging we need to do, or some ways in which, you know, we could be receptive to process improvements from your angle with DoD or your customers or whatnot, you know, we're absolutely open to that, because we want to be making here. We just, right, you know, and I maybe you're not on the direct contract with that, but your client is, right? I mean, who you're working, the manufacturers are sometimes, and, you know, we've seen that play out on costs as well.
Well, we've briefed the Pentagon, ASALT, for
Right.
acquisition. The
I mean, these are some of the best people in the country, but it's sometimes you need leadership, and sometimes it's a note to send to the administration saying, hey, you know, we're hearing this, can we unlock it to do better? Why is the life cycle, why is the time frame? You know, some of this, you know, we can't be waiting forever, we have to be, you know, you see what's happening with AI right now, and it's a real opportunity for us, but, you know, if we just wait for, you know, 5,000 permits, you know, it's gonna be decades from now, and others are gonna be running laps around us. And we need these factories of the future, we need the best efficiency possible, and the manufacturing capabilities here.
That's a gigantic conversation.
Yes, it
You'll be here
is.
for 2 hours, you're more than welcome to
Yeah.
be here until the end of the
I
day.
will come shadowing.
The,
I'll come walk a day in your shoes.
I think the acquisition process is getting better, but there's a lot of room to make it better, especially on how you fund programs, how you put money out there and where you can actually use the money, because it does not necessarily follow what is the best development plan to create the most efficient, you know, engineering, design, and launch. But I think that people are getting smarter, they're getting better, and you're starting to see a lot more of that automotive skill set moving into the government.
Yeah, that was just great, you know, and it's because even like DOE is such an early qualifier for some of these new technologies and applications, you know, that can end up going into our private sector. So, you know, all I want is to see success, and I will say in terms of success, we don't have a ton of instances like what happened. COVID ripped this Band-Aid off with fraud and abuse. I mean, you know, remember the unemployment stuff, and you know, it's like, okay, we don't have that. So that system here, I mean, it's really minimal in terms of defense manufacturing, defense contracting, and look, some of the times this, you know, the federal government's procuring, right? Now it's a physical good, so it's like, well, you know, give us the product, right? You know, and it shows for itself. But there really has been, you know, over the decades, you know, a focus on limiting waste, and there's a lot to be proud of in that space. And you guys, I'm sure, are, you know, tied into those conversations as well, and we appreciate you for that.
Absolutely. You know, it's for, you know, for us.
Yeah. Look at this. This is amazing, guys.
May
This is
I
amazing.
interject?
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
Okay, so this is really important.
because you know what I'm talking about.
This is
Yeah.
very important for the community, and Munro is part of that, and they've witnessed this. We just suffered some brutal cuts in Warren, Michigan, and not all of them have been announced.
Yeah.
And so programs are being consolidated, we're losing lots of jobs, we're losing entire programs. I can tell you that Army Futures Command, and I say this boldly as a retired senior Army officer, there's a reputation across the Army in particular that Warren, Michigan, ACC Warren is slow to contract. I can tell you that a lot of effort by Mr. Kedge at GBSC, a lot of effort by General Dean before he retired in Ground Combat Systems had worked to speed to contract, and we're seeing some record results in getting to contract and creating efficiency and flexibility in contracting on a warrant, but that message has not been carried across the rest of the Department of Defense. I know they tried to get that message across to the Secretary of the Army when he was in town, but Congressman Bergman and I talk about it frequently. I know that, you know, John and SMI, we collaborate a lot with the messaging in DC. We want to make sure that you know that. And Munro has participated and witnessed speed to contract recently, so that's something that if we're going to fight for resources in Michigan and defense, you know, with the Army in particular, that we want to make sure that you have that message.
Yeah,
And we'll share with Tony some of this
that'd be great.
information.
Yeah, really well said, sir, because I think, you know, from a state perspective, we want that to become a competitive advantage.
Yes.
So a lot of states advertise, yeah, this is our speed to contract. We've got a couple of proof points now that say we're the fastest.
Okay, that's good to hear too.
Yeah.
We'll get
Well, I
you-
know you're putting in the tire tread time. I
Yeah,
can tell you
that's
the times
true.
I've run into him in the airport, you know. You know, and that's really
Yeah.
important for us, you know, and
Nice
we're
to not
happy
be
to
there.
help with the table setting in terms of making sure, you know, the state's at the table and, you know, our offices, you know, across delegation, and you know, that's, you know, it's interesting with what's going on over there in Warren. You know, we probably all need to get a little bit more briefed on that, you know, just for some of the realities that are gonna play out. But this is remarkable, friends. That slide is remarkable.
It is.
That's unbelievable. And that's happening right here in Auburn Hills. That is unfreaking believable. Wait, please go back to it. No, I'm serious, because, so in the R&D lab I was in, you know, we worked with CAT, which is great, so that's off-highway, yeah, this is really something else. This is something else. I do not see this often.
And
You got Bose, okay.
And we're doing a lot more work. What we do for all these companies is we apply our lean thinking, our experience to really help these companies lean out their product, lean out their operations, and become a lot more stable. Than what it does for us is we just have a lot of visibility into what are the advanced manufacturing that's happening, what materials are people using, because when you're stuck in a single job or a single industry product, you only understand that. So being able to leverage the experience that we see across all of these programs it's big.
And do you connect it on equipment too?
We do.
Yeah, which is also amazing. I mean, I see this, you have to, look, I mean, I'm hundreds of visits deep, you know, and these are just show and tells, although we got camera people stuff, I don't know what's going on, but, no, that's fine, we love that everyone's here, showcasing what's going, I mean, this is the best of America, it's the best, I mean, it, really, but, you know, I see these factory floors up close, and my dad always jokes with me, he's like, you're so lucky you get to do that, and
Yeah.
see all these things that are taking place. But I do see the equipment utilization, and when I was at my lab, you know, we were there for the building up of that factory, right, and the spacing, and again, it was demonstration primarily, we did some training, you know, I was helping manage the training programs, but, you know, I just keep thinking about effective floor utilization, but then you got equipment, you got shipping considerations, and, you know, how many deals fall through because of just one piece can't make it, and, you know, we lived this reality during COVID,
Yes.
right? I
Very
mean, we
much so.
saw this play out, I mean,
It's terrible.
my gosh, you know, call Munro Defense. I
Yeah.
mean, keep going with
Yeah.
what you are doing. This is amazing.
Yeah, it is. We
It's unbelievable. How many people do you have working here?
All told? Well, it's less than 100.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but still,
Yeah.
I mean,
We're
the
like
technical,
the, you know, like the
Yeah.
SEAL team.
Yeah.
We're
You're the
getting
SEAL
in there,
team.
Getting in there,
Yeah.
getting it done.
you
know.
gotta get in there, get it done. You're
Small
working
but
with all,
effective.
yeah.
And saving the government a lot of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for going back to that. I'm not just saying, I mean, this is really unbelievable.
we have
That's really exceptional.
35-year history.
Yeah,
We're strong, we're growing, and we appreciate you recognizing that. The Munro Defense itself, we've worked on a lot of weapon systems through our time, and if you look at some of the tangible results in just, you know, some of these programs, I cannot talk specific to the programs, but 32% reduction in cost opportunities on the missile and 29% improvement. And, you know, you look at nuclear, you know, 62% major savings. So when we talk about, you know, weapon systems, and we talk about budgets, it's not about, you know, how can we make less for less dollars? How can we make more for less dollars, right? So how can we get a lot more value out of the taxpayers' dollar?
You know, David, I mean, I don't, if you don't mind, quick interjection. I mean, we've been talking about this a lot, and Congresswoman, I apologize, I'm not really up on your latest Manufacturing Monday podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Catching up, right? But I think a fantastic topic for a podcast, or a Manufacturing Monday session, would be this loss of how to launch. So as we've bled manufacturing capability, one of the biggest gaps I see, and what I'm kind of most impressed with Munro, is they still have bottled up this capability of how to actually effectively launch a new product into manufacturing.
Yeah.
That is,
Okay.
it is a lost art in this country,
Yeah.
I think. I personally think there's a generational gap in that capability, right? And so with the rise of kind of the VC presence in the Pentagon,
Right.
and, you know, a lot of
Which-
tech money coming in,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
I think that a lot of that, I don't wanna say generation, because it makes me sound like an old man,
No,
but maybe, right? The rise of that generation, right? There's only so many big projects that you can get that experience on. And so we haven't really been launching big stuff for a decade
Yeah.
or more, right? And so, I just think that's a really interesting topic,
Well,
right?
let me
Because
ask you this on
it's
this
a-
front.
it's a-
No,
it's a
let me ask you this.
tremendous expertise that they
Yeah.
have that is even a blind spot. It's not that people
Yeah.
know they don't know.
No, I
They don't
haven't
know
heard
they
that
don't
so
know.
directly.
Yeah,
I really haven't heard that so directly. You know, and I will be, I'm not questioning it, I'll be keen to it. My presumption on it is that we're in just such a accelerated and aggressive time. You know, it's not that people forget the steps, it's just like, wait a
That's
minute,
it.
there's such a, you know, it's demand, but it's, you know, it's like what took 5 years, you know, time 23 years ago or 30 years ago, it now needs to be done in 2 years.
Exactly.
And so,
Yep.
you know, and one of the ones I'm tinkering around with, and I have not written this bill, but I've aspired to, you know, and I've articulated it. It's like a low-hanging fruit thing, like honestly, you could probably go in an NDAA or something. But it's this whole bit about equipment storage. Because when I, you know, and you had Cat on there, but when I crawled around John Deere's foundry and their factory floors and all this, I mean, we did their foundry, but we did their whole enterprise, and, you know, we were looking at the IIoT, right? We were, you know, now it's like AI, but, like, you know, the digital applications, which, by the way, is also a barrier to entry, because now you're gonna manufacture and you need access to the sensors and the digital applications and the data, but yet, these are still physical analog systems. And so one of the big pushes that we got into was asking how old the equipment was, right? And not to judge, but to look, and this is freaking fascinating all around town. I see this, you know, of course there's some new equipment, but then there's like old equipment, and I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It still works. It's still, I mean, right? It was designed. It's this, that, and one of the things like I've been looking at is, as we have dynamism and, you know, some who, you know, maybe they're 20, 30 people big, tool and die. It's not that we have to take every piece of equipment, but it'd be neat to be able to have DoD store some of that. I don't know if that helps with product to market per se, but sometimes I think we get too digital for our own good. Like, it's like, go back to the way they used to do it, you know, but obviously you need to do inventory and all that. I mean, you guys are living this. We'll continue to take cues on that front. My, you know, big thing here, it's like beat China. Like, we've gotta be, you know, when you say that to me, that is an area that we need to tell my chairman about and have a hearing on. I am not joking. I mean, I know it's deep stuff for policymakers to like really drill down on, but we need those testimonials. We need to understand that, and we need to understand how it's tied to our federal agencies, particularly our Department of Defense, because, you know, we are in this race, and what we are trying to show is that open free market capitalist democracies succeed and win. You know, obviously for our, you know, economy, but also for, you know, the national security elements of all this as well, and the success. I mean, it's, you know, how does our lunch get eaten? Well, it's like other systems taking over, other dependencies. Thank you for noting what I've done on minerals, because that's inexcusable. That has been inexcusable, giving all that over to, frankly, an adversary. I mean, we can't, how, you know, and then we want to talk about supply chain securitization. And another issue here is you get politicians talking, but they're so removed from the day to day, which is why I spend this intentional time. I mean, I'm so freaking glad we made the time to come over here. Please keep sending me stuff on this. Push us to have these conversations on the product side. I not that I'm questioning it, I just hadn't really seen that, and I could see that being an issue, and that is, you know, that's motivational for us to work in a better way, and we need you guys to keep going too. I mean, I'm glad you got this deep history. You know, we need the next 35 years, so. You know.
So speaking of some future, because we are on a time limit
Okay,
here.
yes, we
so
are.
I'm
No, I'll talk all
I'm gonna
day.
keep
I
us
mean,
moving.
she's like, you
But
only got 2
we,
hours. I'm like, I wanna work with you.
And we're gonna walk on the
I'm like,
floor and show you some stuff, and then we're gonna walk over
Oh,
the
okay.
fence. But I'd like to highlight a couple of very important programs that we have going on. as I mentioned earlier, is the 6.8 millimeter cartridge, because you know, with the war and everything that's going on, ammunition is very important in that supply chain. So we worked very early with the program and continue to support the program on the facilitization. On the bottom left hand, that's General Ryman, the team over at Picatinny Arsenal, you know, Rob Getz, who kind of runs the ammunition program, Sue and myself, but that's the groundbreaking ceremony. We're incredibly proud to be part of this part of the history making, really. And the next thing is we are doing a lot across mobile nuclear reactors. We think that energy is a very important piece. And going back to some of your topics, we focus not just on our normal design optimization risk assessment, but really also from the rare earth. How are we making products? What rare earth elements or other earth elements are used? What does that supply chain look like? Where's it coming from? So we did a study for SCO to go all the way back to the mine. Where is it being mined from?
Gosh.
And then doing a complete trusted supply chain all the way
God
back
bless you.
up, so that we can
That's unbelievable.
understand that. So
Thank
these
you.
are.
I'd love to see that if I ever could. I mean, we could get into what do they call it, the skiff or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just, you know, another company we're working with
Graphite.
is, you know, PTX. So synthetic graphite, you know, where they're just now having some real good products. We'll be working, how do you start to scale up the production? So they're working with DOE and other things. So again, I think when we talk about the rare earth elements and we talk about supply chain, more investment has to go into not just saying where are we going to get it from, but what's the alternative? What's the other solution?
Yeah, this is that. So that's in my bill, and people are you know, been really keen. I mean, this has been a phenomenal process writing that legislation. I mean, it was almost 14, 15 months of hard work, and really involving all the stakeholders as well in that. And you know, industry is talking about this. They know we can do it. It's just we need to have kind of the, you know, industrial policy to make it happen here. And again, it's not, you know, this is just a policy, you know, whether you wanna talk about me or not, I don't care. I mean, it's nice to, you know, have your name injected, but it doesn't matter. I mean, this is a national call to action. I mean, this has been going on, you know, we've realized this from the, you know, early aughts, in terms of, you know, being too dependent and not building out this segment of our supply chain. We can do it, we just need to.
Absolutely.
You know, we just need to. You gotta see that bill. It's my Unearth America Future Act. You know, I need you need to be carrying this around because you're everywhere and you talk and you're friendly.
Sure,
Okay, so
thanks.
because I
We do
need
have,
people.
we have time set aside for you to specifically talk about some of your bills.
Yeah,
So
good.
I think
Okay,
this is
good.
No, it's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
Sorry.
and we could, you know, I mean, Munro's great at that, but they're also networked into the nonprofit community, so NDIA is pretty
Yes.
good.
I was just gonna ask if you were, how much you were working. I assumed you were doing a ton with
Absolutely.
NDIA. And my gosh, I mean, I was doing great standard stuff with them. I mean, this was now like a dozen years ago. Isn't that funny how quickly it goes by? But I mean, I was really, I loved working with NDIA, and you know, they've got a nice presence here. There's a lot of good partners, and they still have conferences. I assume you go.
Yeah.
You know, I was gonna ask what your conference circuit was,
E-
because those are
either-
so meaningful,
They are.
helpful.
Either Munro or General Stone or myself can give you any kind of input on
Okay.
stuff like that. you like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And Cody
No.
knows how to get us.
Yeah, no, we just need to kind
We'll
of
push
keep
stuff
this,
to code.
Yeah.
keep this going
Okay.
here.
So the other, you know, we're supporting a startup in, because we've done, again, a lot of reactor work, but
Great.
working with the startup out of Austin, again, just showing that Michigan is providing these type of engineering services. But it's about how do we scale up and how do we use automotive technology? So in a small nuclear reactor, how do you scale up for power and how do you make it easy and with very basically safe type of energy source that we're typically not used to, and then one of the other larger programs that we're engaged with, and I know this topic in Congress, it's helping the Navy really look at, for the next gen destroyer, how can we take 20% of the cost out of that entire design? It's a big
It's
task.
a very big task.
So
What's the goal, the 20%?
take 20% from ship 10.
That's a very large task.
Of cost, right?
Total cost.
Is any of this tied in with AUKUS? If you, that's nuclear subs.
No,
Not yet.
not at all. But we
Yeah.
think there's a lot of opportunity within the Navy and across different programs. So,
Yeah, that's great.
a lot of
That's
different,
amazing. Keep your eye out for some of the, when you're at these conferences for
Absolutely.
August. I'm really, keen to that. Joe Portman, my colleague from Connecticut, you should go see him at some point. He's the one who really helped architect and design that partnership, Australia, UK, US. And the reason why we're keen to that is because it was co-development with these other countries. And, and then you have two pillars, so the nuke subs, and then they had the, like a broader technology pillar. Well, I see this as the plight towards bringing alongside our open free market, capitalist democratic allies in the co-development of new technologies and, processes and systems that, are going to ensure our success. I mean, it's another path to just beating China here. But that's a bit, you're already doing a big undertaking on that, what you're doing with that.
Right.
But just pay attention to that one on AUKUS because, the vision there is, can we add Japan in, or can we do other countries? And the Brits, they've come and seen me about minerals and things along those lines. And look, you see, we've got this current administration, it's like they're cutting so many deals with all these other countries. I'm like, can we get some more deals for Michigan here? Look at my guys. But, you start to see that stuff.
Sure.
And do you do any global, or is it mostly, so.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
The
great.
commercial does a lot more global work, where on the defense side, we typically stay in the homeland.
Mhm.
But I do believe to be more competitive, and we're gonna head out here in 2 seconds, but to be more competitive, we have the Buy America Act, right? But in order to be competitive, we may need to open that up to some other countries that allow us to get
Yeah.
material and other things cheaper.
And these are arrangements. These are, they're not as complex as trade deals, but, we've got to look at this, through our current reality. So that's another good point that you make. Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys so much. You're the ones who are, changing the world, manufacturing the world. I mean, they're just working with every company, which is so tied in. I love that you talked about Ford, because it is so tied in. I mean, that was the boom of our auto industry, was figuring out the factory. I mean, that in the production lines,
Exactly.
so keep it going.
So we're gonna look at some cool stuff.
Okay, let's go see cool stuff. Yeah, thank you.
And that's what, 7.9 billion, is that right? Trying to count the
Way
numbers.
too small for the deficit.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Oh,
not.
no, that's,
Yeah.
sorry.
So,
No, I know.
so, working, and what we did a lot of benchmarking. So look at the best world-class engines across 7 different engines across the world. Then you take all the best attributes that you can find across all of them, combine them and say, okay, that's going to be the best of the best. Now you say, how do I make it even better? And that's what you have here, and this is Daimler Chrysler product. I always forget the name of the companies nowadays, the changes, but that right now is the ticker on the savings that we brought to that program.
Isn't that something else?
Think what we can do on a ship.
Yeah, oh my, you can do it. You can do it. Oh my gosh. And they're saving the government money. We like it.
And so everything you see on all of our products that we work on.
Yeah.
So from TVs to medical equipment to knitting machines.
Oh God.
We've really done it all. Again, very, very rich automotive history. Starting back with how do you bring modular into the automotive industry? How do you commonize on fasteners? All those very early automotive lean things that we helped bring to the industry. That was me when I first started.
Oh, my
baby.
Oh, my gosh, what a career.
I was 18.
And you live in Michigan?
Yes, and so I'm a native Texan,
Okay.
and it took me 20-some years to where I finally said, I'm a Michigander.
There you go.
This is great.
I get it, I get it. I know both are here, native-based country, or states, you know.
So this is when you talk about being competitive in the automotive world, one of the things that we have to do is understand, again, what is going on and what is happening out here. And this is a great example of the transition in manufacturing. So one of the things that we had done very early on was the BMW i3, which is a full composite body, right? Nobody's ever done it before. So what we did is we traveled all over the world to understand who are the suppliers, what's the equipment, what's the technology, what is the cost, so that we could really know, okay, is this the direction that we're going, is it not? And so we use this as all part of our knowledge. Now, Munro has always been in the forefront of technology and innovation. It's a difficult sell sometimes. It's difficult to get people to step up and say, I'm going to lead the charge and change, right? And this is a large casting for the body frame structure, and it's 3 pieces bolted on.
And that was in 2014. So we're at 2014, and this is an older technology. Pushing the forefront of technology at Tesla, they really are doing an amazing job. But here we are in 2018, and we're doing what we've always done. Okay, so just standard stamping technology, which is great, it's all good, but is it the best it can be, right? And the answer is no, right? It's not.
Probably step right through the
Say
transition.
that louder for the camera.
And so when we had looked at this vehicle in depth, and I remember when Sandy had discussed this vehicle, he's like, you know what? There's way too much complexity in this vehicle, especially in the back structure. It's just way too many stampings, way too many welding technologies. It looked like almost an experiment. And he lashed out to Elon and gave him a little 2 cents of what thought was wrong with this car. And so it's evolved over time.
I mean, this is actually amazing to see this, these
It's a
bodies.
great progression.
It's really neat. I mean, how fun to take it all apart. But,
Oh yeah, we don't put them back
you know,
together.
Yeah, I really haven't seen this that much.
But it
You know.
began with that complex structure in the back. And Tesla heard what Sandy Munro said, and they took that rear and quarter area, the rear on this, and they took all those 70 unique stampings and made one casting out of it. You can imagine the simplicity of the manufacturing flow when you have one machine versus multiple machines and assembly, right?
Yeah.
And then this has progressed into a combination of many, many parts. So the single casting to a full rear casting, to the front casting. And we'll see where it goes from here. Maybe it will one day transition will have something very similar to the model to the BMW i3. Instead of having 3 unique castings, have one big casting compared to the whole.
Who's doing the casting? The OE?
The
supplier?
machines are made by Ibra in
Okay.
Italy, but those machines are brought over into Tesla.
Okay.
But this is where, the Michigan manufacturing industrial base can start to look at more investment in these type of systems where they can start doing very large castings.
Yeah, large casting, I mean, that would be great to get that here, for sure. Wowie wow.
So, the whole transition into
It is incredible.
a large system.
Yeah,
So as you
yeah.
see in all the backboards, all of these little parts, we tear everything down, nut by nut, bolt by bolt, to understand absolutely every single aspect. And it's not just cars that we do. Again, it's tractors, it's appliances, you name it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. America needs to see this too, because people just don't appreciate how complex, I mean, they think these are like toys. It's just like,
So,
the body, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
and Rivian, which had a bigger presence here in Michigan, but, we're so glad that they do what they do. It's
We
great.
cannot do any filming
got it.
or walking back there because we
Yeah,
are
got it.
engaged in actual customer technologies.
Yeah, got it.
But going back to, I think, a very important discussion for you, which is the, we're going to talk about in a casting type of podcast type of environment, but it's the Unearthed America Futures Act that you have, and what we need to do to support electronics, motors, batteries, et cetera, and we have a enormous amount of great experience and skill here within the organization where we are just studying that information and doing some R&D work, and would like to introduce you to a couple of gentlemen here.
Yeah, thank
that,
you. What a cool gig you got here. Nice
Yeah,
to meet
it's
you,
pretty
Haley
cool, isn't it?
Stevens. Yeah, hey.
Nice to
Hi,
meet you.
Paul
Yeah,
Turnbull.
this is like geek out time. Gosh, I could spend weeks here.
It's totally
I mean, this
keto
is
time.
unbelievable.
Best job I've ever had.
I believe
Yeah,
it.
it is.
I totally believe it. You know, I'm blown away by how much you guys are touching in industry,
Mm-hmm.
you know, across the board, and the fact that, you know, like this is cost saving too. I mean, it's remarkable.
That's
You
what
know,
we do
they're
here.
just, you know,
Tear it
that-
down, reduce
yeah,
costs, eliminate
yeah,
waste.
yeah.
Yes. Add value to
Yeah.
the customer.
Yeah, wonderful.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's, you know, the plight of our free market, right?
Yes, it is.
You know?
And we're tremendously bullish on
Good.
manufacturing here
Good,
in Michigan,
Yeah.
in US.
yeah,
We absolutely reject the notion that it can't be done. And so we're finding ways to help our customers do it here, and do it fast and cheap.
yeah,
So it's competitive.
agreed.
So-
I agree. I am very bullish too, you know, and it's not just the words. I mean, it's you know, it's the continual investment, it's the ecosystem, it's the talent, and it's the fact that we've got the freedom of thought, like we've got the ability.
We do.
We've spent a lot of time talking about competition with China, but you know, it's like, is this happening in China? I
It's
know.
time.
This
to reshore
is,
things.
we're standing in front of Tesla Motors. These are American-made motors, absolutely competitive. And
Yeah.
we're also, just beyond it is the Ford Mustang Mach-E.
Yeah.
They recently brought the motor production in-house. They've been doing the design just down the road in Dearborn for years now. And so this is certainly one of the areas that the U.S. is competing very nicely.
Yeah. No, I mean, X amount of years ago, in 2019, we were doing the 50-year celebration of the moon landing. So like, what's the moonshot of the next 50 years? I said, listen, it's coming from the place I call home. I mean, and it's new mobility areas, and we don't, you know, sometimes just take a minute and pause. I mean, you guys are seeing this play out, but it is remarkable, all these new applications that are coming to play. And I love what you're doing. I mean, this is just remarkable.
And
It's
the
remarkable
know-how-
to see all this geeked out here in the circuit boards, and oh my gosh.
The know-how has been here for
Yeah.
decades.
Yes.
And then we helped teach some of the Chinese companies how to do the manufacturing. John was a part of that. I was a part of that. You know, we traveled over to China and
Interesting.
spent time there teaching them. It's
Couple
it's time to bring that back and
Yeah, it is.
do that and
It is
use
that.
what we've known all along.
You know, and take it back and buy it back, and, you know, we have that taking place. And this is, I'll say this to you, gentlemen, I mean, this is where we don't need politics getting in the way. You know, there were some, you know, places where, you know, coming out of the Great Recession, you know, the industry wasn't ready to do all this stuff. I was there. I knew, I mean, we were kind of working on it from a, you know, almost like a think tank angle, you know, even though I was in a, you know, the Treasury Department, and now it is time to take it back. And it's time to compete, it's time to sell the world, it's time to, you know, bring our allies along with us. I mean, you know, it's unbelievable that Europe just kind of, you know, didn't put up the guardrails. Now they are. We'll lead the way on that, though. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it really is, and it's got to be our nameplates. And we got to protect our IP.
Yeah, it's time to come back into the driver's seat. We have the know-how, as Paul said. We've got the knowledge base. We know how to execute, we've done it before, we'll do it
Mhm.
again.
Yeah.
Just take a little bit of time
Yeah.
to really handle that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, this session today, what this establishes for me as, someone who's supporting American manufacturing, Michigan manufacturing, and where I have found a lot of success through multiple administrations, I've done multiple speakers of the House. These rapport that we will now have, because I've been over here, I'd spend twice a week here if I could, but I gotta go to vote, but keep telling us what you're seeing and what you need. We wanna cut through red tape. You're the efficiency masters. You're changing a lot of things. There's a lot for us to learn from all of you too. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
Like in awe of what you do and who you are.
Before you go,
Yeah, please.
will you take just 5 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I am going to make Dave really angry because I'm going to take it past the red line.
Oh.
But a
camera.
funded by, we can take the cameras because it's all funded internally by Munro.
Okay.
But I want to show you something that was developed in your district.
Yeah, sure.
GM Powertrain.
Okay.
5 minutes from here in Pontiac, developed what is currently the second
Yeah.
best-selling powertrain.
I know that.
The EV powertrain.
I know.
The Equinox, and also used in the Honda Prologue. Both vehicles doing great. And we're tearing it down to have a quick look at what it looks like on the inside, some of the clever things that was developed right here doing some motor manufacturing. So they brought motor manufacturing in-house in Pontiac to do manufacturing for the EV, the hybrid motor for that. So we're tearing this apart and looking at all of the clever things that they did to make it. How do you sell a low-cost, affordable EV built in America? And right now, the Equinox is doing quite well with this, and the secrets are right here in this powertrain.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
I just quickly wanted to show you that it's happening now as we speak, here and here, right in this district. I'm pretty proud of it.
You should be.
I'm really happy
You
to
should
get a chance
be.
to show it off.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Just gotta live like 100 more years, all of us, See where this continues to,
Yeah.
to go.
I hope it's only going to take three or four more years.
No, 100%, it just, I always think about it like, how is our transportation gonna be working? How's our mobility sector gonna be evolved? And some of this is on our infrastructure and our systems. We need that to monitor these motors. What our renovation, we owe that to you. So, I talk to a lot of people who are tied in with that Pontiac, facility now.
They're doing great things there.
Yeah. Met a couple of those things over there, but that's so neat. You guys are perfect at doing what you're doing with that, so, congrats.
We have about 10 more minutes here, and then we're going to head across the street. We're going to talk just a few more things, a little bit about the battery, motor, then what we're doing in some aviation work as well. But again, it's all about batteries, what can we do here. So we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so right in front of you, Congresswoman, are some battery packs that we've torn down previously with some of the vehicles that you see here at Skeleton Farm. And essentially, just a little bit of background about the format of the batteries. We have three different form factors. We've got the cylindrical, which everybody's used to. We also have prismatic, which is on the table. And then we have what looks like what's in the can. That's a pouch, and what we have that's in the can is called prismatic. So there's three form factors. They all go together to construct a battery pack that you see here. So one of the things that we look at when we're taking down product here at battery pack level is where did the chemistry come from? Exactly how particularly was in mind, and what can we do to set the course of direction to have stuff like that done here. not only, and up to and including full assembly here. Now, in Michigan, we have 5 chemistries that we're doing right now in this state, which is LFP, NMC, and we have solid state, we have sodium ion, and we have the conventional, or the legacy, I should say, nickel metal hydride, which is being phased out. Those of scale.
Was nickel being phased out?
Nickel metal hydride, yes.
Nickel metal hydride.
Yeah. So that probably started back in the early 90s.
Okay.
Lithium ion took its place.
Okay.
So when you look at the overall manufacturing scale, the primary at the forefront chemistries are LFP and nickel metal, or NMC. Okay. So what can we do in the future to reshore this manufacturing of the battery cells and the modules and the packs is just essentially bring everything back, augment what we already have in our state, and particularly what it takes at battery cell level, because the battery cell isn't properly designed, which is what we know how to do and what we look at when we're doing tear down and benchmarking analysis. Then the modules and the packs, they will also suffer. We've got a great facility here with UL Solutions. They know how to certify the product too. At the end of the day, yes. So we make sure that whatever we build here has to run through that certification process, along with the proper testing at manufacturing level at the different facilities that they're producing.
Right. No, that's such a, we need to capture what you just said and put it in the official record, because this is exactly what you've been sharing on some of the critical elements front. And we feel this, I mean, no pun intended, we feel the charge of this, that we need to, we need to be doing that. And honestly, we don't want politics getting in the way. This is why industry-led is so important. Particularly, when we spend time with our Detroit automakers, I just say, hey, what are your customers saying? What's the marketplace saying? Let you drive that. I mean, hey, if I wanted to be selling cars, I could have pursued a different career path. But, as a policymaker, we've got to take our cues from the private sector. But this is where, the role, and, where, there's different approaches to this, but the role of our federal government and our government actors, plowing the field, setting the table, so that we're not, when we've kind of woken up to some, lessons in this, 21st century, where it's like, wait, we're holding the bag, wait, we need to, bring this back over here. You all are in such a perfect spot to help us articulate that too, and just know we really, really want to keep, an open line, and what you're hearing and seeing and what you need, and what your customers are saying too, because it's got to come from industry. It's got to come from the free market. We're not a country that tells people this is what you have to do. My role is, the infrastructure though, the infrastructure element of that, and also, the tax code, and like we're all in the cost-saving business, but we don't want to be so much that we're cutting off our nose to spite our face. What we see going on with artificial intelligence right now in these data centers and the energy applications, I'm like, I swear there's a deal to broker there, that will pay down some of our, our federal spending, issues that we've run into, and just level setting with China, they golly, anyway, I'll leave that for another conversation, but there's a lot we can do there. And this, I mean, you guys are just, wake up every day, feel that fire in your belly. Please know I'm rooting for you in what you're doing here, so.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And you're here in Michigan? Yeah,
I am.
Right.
And it's like you said, it's a matter of listening to the voice of the customer and making sure at manufacturing level, not only do you build it right, but you build the right thing, and that's called listening to the voice of the customer. Because at the end of the day, we can build something in the factory we built it right, but if we didn't build the right thing, nobody's going to want to buy it. And we also have to make sure that we have enough charging centers out there available to all the vehicles out there that are on the road currently and will be on the road in the future that are EVs. That's a big thing.
yes.
We need more nuclear power to energy.
More, yes, maybe more nuclear. Help.
Well, gosh, you know, the minute I get, you know, I'm on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, and we've been talking about all these power applications. We've gone and seen some of the nuclear, and we did storage. I mean, we've been working on storage, but, you know, there's some real opportunities to change the dialogue as well. And when we see these, you know, particularly in the other branch of government, right, you know, the administration part, that's so important for us too. You know, just, you know, having your voices at the table. You know, alongside your customers. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Oh my gosh, keep in touch. I love what I do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, we've done a lot in the aerospace, working with NASA, and also worked with Boeing, a lot of small aviation as well. But one of the programs that we work on, and Sue is a big part of that as well, is how we bring automotive technology into aerospace. In our-
Oh,
in our-
fun.
in our-
Yes. Yes,
In
yes,
our
yes.
other building, you will see that we have a really old, I think,
That skeleton
Republic
right there.
CB, that right there. Because in the late 1940s, you could build that airplane for the same cost as you could a Cadillac, right? And it has technology you would never see in an airplane anymore, stamped parts,
Yeah.
welded parts, you
Yeah.
know, and other things.
I'll tell you, some of these old Cessnas, I mean, they're 50 years old, and they're still flying them. Yeah, and they're wonderful, and that's why I connected with those Calumet
Yeah.
guys, because I was looking at the mechanic component of it and that training. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the other thing, that knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's why I was thinking about this storage of old equipment.
Correct.
Because and not that things are ever officially retired, but it's kind of like, don't let it die
You
on the
can
vine.
repurpose it.
You can repurpose it, get people trained,
Exactly.
you know.
I agree.
You know,
We need more of that.
I know, let's
Absolutely.
keep talking on that one too, because I
It's a
I
good thing.
floated that out there
Yeah.
with some folks.
We
It's
need-
like,
we need more.
we do, but that's so great. It's really, really great.
What you see up in the top right-hand corner there is Oshkosh.
Oh,
And you see the, what we call the pink rocket there that has the Munro Associates logo on it.
Mm.
That actually is a modified Corvette engine with a carbon fiber drive shaft and an inducted fan. You can turn on, turn off, just like a car. So now you're really starting to reduce some of the costs. So really, sometimes a lot of cost is driven through regulation and
Yeah.
through different requirements like fire requirements and other things that drive a lot of complexity.
I know.
So we understand that, and so this is a proof of concept, and that's where it is right here.
Oh
But the-
my
But the
gosh.
idea is,
Oshkosh is doing that?
no, we did
Oh,
this.
you did this
And
in
we
Oshkosh.
showed it at
Okay,
Oshkosh.
I see.
But it was a program that we did for for NASA. And,
Great.
And the idea is the highway in the sky. So we designed a simulator and a lot of other things so that you could go to.
Who are you guys?
Yeah, exactly. So,
Smile.
you know, you could go to the Hertz rental plane and just hop in a plane and it'll automatically,
No,
through
it's
AI and other things, take you from point A to point B. And then this
Self-flying,
is,
right? Self-flying avoids weather, any disaster.
Yeah.
It will do that.
voids
The
other
technology's
airplanes.
already there, right? So-
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's about being in the forefront of where the future really needs to be. And then Sue Munro is actually Dr. Munro.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she did her dissertation actually on this here.
Is
So
that
if you
right?
could talk about this.
Yeah, this is all about trying to employ, again, automotive technology in aerospace, because if you know anything about aerospace structure, it's very difficult with these rivets, and there are millions upon millions of rivets. And the idea was, can you reduce the structure cost of an airplane using different
Yeah.
technologies? Because we're always talking about, well, this is an easier way of doing something. So this whole thing is a demonstration of something called laser weld bond, and it's really just a belt and suspenders type of construction, where you use an adhesive and also a laser weld, And what it does for you is you get the stress and the strain, both attributes with a weld and adhesive, but you also get a really smooth exterior, because if you're trying to sell this as a mass-produced vehicle in the sky, it has to resonate with somebody who understands and feels like it's more like a car and not a plane, because planes are inherently scary to some people, especially GA planes, but it has to be intuitive, it had to look and fly like a minivan in the sky.
I mean, these
That was
flight
what we wanted.
schools, they're training 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a
It's
driver's license.
getting
It's-
easier, I think.
Yeah, no, we should keep talking about that.
And so this is
That
all
is,
about
yeah.
what this is. It's just a continuous evolution of technology and pushing innovation into product so that
Yeah,
it increases the value proposition and pushes the innovation to create a better value product.
yeah. We need to spend some time on this, because I'm doing more around the state now, and I've been noticing some of our airports are underutilized.
Yes.
And it's like, you're always gonna look at demand, you're gonna look at cost, you're gonna look at these things, and of course, it's like hands off our cars, we'll have cars, but on the other hand, who and why would we be utilizing something like this, and could we?
Yeah.
And especially with the government.
Yep.
And different types of government business, laborers. The Oakland County Airport's our second busiest airport. There's obviously some, commercial, not the big airlines, but like the private stuff, but it's a lot of freight too.
Yes.
And when we start talking about demonstration and showcasing, this is such an accomplishment. I'm not even kidding you. This is so cool to see. What a neat thing.
Yeah. We do this on a regular basis, which is awesome. So
Yeah.
it spans all those industries you see, and
Oh my
we really are
gosh.
trying to push the envelope to get people to do things and think differently about their products.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I get it now.
All right.